Welcome back to The Big Show. It's always nice to talk to a TV legend, and you're definitely one of them. Gareth Hale, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you very much.
It's nice to meet you, because I grew up watching you. I mean, you're like the uncle that was on the TV every week, and you were funny, and Hale and Pace, of course, was so popular. Why aren't you still doing it?
We sort of said to ourselves, if we were lucky enough to do 10 series of Hale and Pace, then it's time to maybe have a look around at doing something else for ourselves that we hadn't had the opportunity to do before. So that's sort of what we did. We still get together every now and then. In fact, about 6 weeks ago, we got back from our 8th tour in Australia. So that was fantastic fun. Great, live audiences, and to be in Australia when England won the Ashes. I mean, it just took care of the first 10 minutes of the show, really, and then dodging bottles and a variety of other things thrown at us, because they're not really great losers, the Aussies.
So is it nice then going into it for a bit and then leaving it again and living your life normally?
Yeah, and also, as hopefully different challenges come up, taking them on, going to places, artistically we've never been before, they're great challenges.
Can we talk about the days when you were at the top with Hale and Pace? How does it feel when you're it and everybody's talking about you and you're prime time and you're the thing that everybody's watching? It's an odd feeling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But it's sort of it's strange, because certainly if we'd done live work for so long, 15 years beforehand. And effectively your homework gets marked immediately, obviously, when you're doing live stuff, and it's a different kind of fascination in writing something, then rehearsing it, and it going onto the television, and hopefully, through experience you've learnt to edit things properly before they actually get to be screened, and then feeling the response to it, and the fact that people did like the characters, they like certain sketches, they like some of the music. So yeah, there's nothing better than it. Of course, it's quite addictive, but and of course motivates you to go out and look for new characters, new comic creations, hopefully as well.
What do you make of the people who are doing it today, like Matt and David with their sitcoms and things like that? Do you think they're as funny? Because they're different, aren't they? They're certainly more crude.
If you see yourself as an edgy comedian or part of an edgy double act, you're going to, depending on what era you're in, you're going to investigate the boundaries all the time, because that's part of what it's about, I suppose. People can't continue to succeed if they haven't got the skill and innate talent to be there and stay there for some considerable amount of time.
Your sketches live on forever, and they're of course all over YouTube. What was your best one that you ever did together?
Well, it's weird, isn't it? I certainly know that people have talked about the YouTube ones, and Yorkshire Airlines seems to be one of the most popular. But I think that the two characters, which are Jed and Dave, which were the two sort of aging hippies, they always made us laugh when we performed them, and I suppose the Rons as well, because the Rons were great MCs. They take charge of the TV show, they took charge of the live show as well, and they could talk about anything in their own particularly uneducated way, and nobody's going to challenge them.
I'd actually written down on my piece of paper that I haven't bothered looking at yet. I must ask you a proper question before we go on too far, but the Yorkshire Airlines thing, to me, seriously, is the greatest sketch ever. I don't know whether it's because I'm from the north, but to me that is just so beautifully crafted. Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and well, at the time, I think probably gleaned some of the ideas from having travelled up to Yorkshire, because my wife is from Doncaster, and I don't know how welcome I was after it was screened, but people took it in good heart, I think, and saw bits of truth and obviously bits of exaggeration in it as well.
I mean, it's got great comedy like What You Serve on the Plane, the mushy peas and all of that stuff, but the accents, how do you get them so brilliant and so precise? How long does it take to do that?
Well, I think you kind of probably subconsciously play a bit to your strengths anyway, which is why people from the south tend not to do a lot of Geordie accents, I think, because it's very, very difficult to do. And because I'd spent a bit of time up there, and also it just seemed right comically to do. Yeah. So we had to go, but obviously you want to represent it well, and you'll work on the accent as well.
The Hale and Pace years are behind you now, although you revisit it from time to time. Like you say, you went down under with a tour. What about doing the tour here?
It just happened that there was a sort of a window between Norman starting. He's now out on a tour of Our Man in Havana, and I'm starting Christmas Carol coming up fairly soon. So it just depends on when the time is, really.
And I suppose it's more showbiz doing it down under with the sunshine than here where it's raining.
Yes, we're big fans of the kangaroo.
Let's talk about you, though. What are you? Because I've been looking at your CV and what you've done. Are you a comedian or an actor?
I'm confused. No, I mean, hopefully, I think that, because we were never stand-up comedians, I think we'd always been comedy actors, then it isn't really too much of an extension to hopefully be able to represent yourself well in other forms of drama as well.
But not many people are able to do that, are they? They're either brilliant at doing one thing and leave everything else. You seem to have gone across everything.
Well, that's very kind, thanks. And as I said earlier on, that it's about new challenges presenting themselves and trying something that you haven't tried before, which is, a way of testing yourself in, mentally and physically as well.
How do you remember it all? How does it go in and stay there? Is there one day when you walk in and it's there?
Well, I think it's full of certain people who I feel very envious of can just look at pages, consume them, and spout them out without any problem. I hate them, actually, and that is difficult. But a lot of the original Dickensian text is used in the show because they want to keep very, very much to the strict letter of it. So it is quite tricky, but it's just, for me, it's just hard work. But the language is fantastic, He did do quite well in his sentence construction, really, old Dickens. He knew what he was up to, It's actually a story within a story. So it starts off in in the present day, and then it becomes a play within a play. So within that outer casing, there is room for a bit of ad-libbing. There is elements of audience participation, and within the show itself, there's a lot of music, original music as well. So it's a very exciting sort of combination and a new kind of slant and feel on what is probably one of, the most iconic Christmas story worldwide, probably.
Are you a fan of Christmas? Because if not, this is going to be a long December for you, isn't it?
I am a fan of Christmas, and I think that everybody's, where you get that kind of warm feeling from is from obviously the earliest Christmases that you remember, when it always seemed to snow. And where, the fascination of decorating the house and the expectation and the 1.5 hours sleep on Christmas Eve, all those things. So, yeah, it can't help but more often engender a really warm sort of feeling. And I think as well, because this has sort of that classic Victorian ghost story element within it as well. So it'd be interesting to see how all that comes together and how the different ghosts react and how scared the kids get, how scared I get, actually. I'll be biting my nails.
Is there any better thrill than walking down a street and seeing your foyer there with your name on it and you're on all the billboards and you're it? You are the production.
Of course I'm not, because, there's a fantastically talented cast. They are very talented people. There's puppets and brilliant puppeteers within the show. So as I say, there's lots of different dimensions to the show, different feels to it, that they actually use parts that actually go back in history of how to physically explain parts of the story as well. So it's not about me.
That's lovely and humble of you, but let's face it, without Scrooge there ain't a Christmas Carol, is there?
No, you got to have the old mean old miser in there. But no, it's what a fantastic part to be offered, and I'm really looking forward to it. My kids aren't getting any presents this year.
It's an interesting role because it's been done so much by so many different people in so many different ways. How are you going to play it? Are you going to shtick it up? Are you going to camp it? Are you going to play it deadly straight or serious or creepy?
I think that there's a lot of scope, and I mean, we've only just started now, but I think that traditionally it's about a man learning a lesson, and by being visited by the four ghosts. So it's about releasing and changing slightly on each of the sort of occurrences of each of the ghosts turning up. But I just hope that I can do it justice, because the words and the actual storyline don't need to be embroidered or hammed up or say put shtick or camp it around. I don't think so. But there are elements where the story kind of just for a second breaks out of itself, just to release a bit of tension for the kids that are going to be in the audience as well. So it has been performed before a few years ago, so they've learnt a lot of lessons about, in terms of, you know, a family audience and a lot of children in, and about keeping the interest up and about changing gear.
And it is a musical, so you therefore have to sing, do you?
Yes, that could be partly, well, could be the most frightening part for the audience, I'd have thought.
I mean, I've never heard you sing How Good Are You At It in a musical context.
Well, I don't know. We'll find out. But I think, you know, we've always, you know, within the Hale and Pace shows, there was always music. And I had my sort of christening about 3 years ago when I played Doolittle in My Fair Lady. So that was... It was fantastic to work with people that are great musicians, great singers, and I think you can't help but learn, and hopefully learn something from them.
When I was reading the CV, I noticed the My Fair Lady thing, and I thought it must have been interesting for you to be part of an ensemble. I know a TV show is an ensemble, that you've got the lighting man and all of that, but really, if you're not on the ball, it's all going to flop, isn't it?
Yes, but I mean, that's sort of your comfort zone in a way. But for the My Fair Lady, you got two fantastic songs, the two big wow factor songs with about 35 people on stage at the same time, with me like a super tanker trying to stop sweeping them off into the orchestra pit as I'm sort of supposedly dancing around the place. But it was... yeah, you hopefully up your game. This particular, the theatre, the type of show, I think are perfectly matched, because it's about intimacy and it's about proximity to the audience as well. So it will all feel very close and intimate, and it's you know, an individual thing that happens just that once, then bang, that show's gone. But you share something, you know, hopefully quite special.
It's interesting you say that, because I saw a very, very famous musical in a huge theatre just the other day, and for me it didn't work. I was too far away, although I'd got great press seats. It was just too big. The Arts Theatre is beautifully small and intimate, and you can see everything and you feel part of it. It feels intimate, and that's what's nice.
Yeah, I think it will suit the show perfectly. So, yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to it.
How do you deal with first nights? I mean, you're used to pressure with the comedy show. Obviously, you're used to a live audience. But really, when you're you've got to bring it all together and make sure it works. How nervous are you of actually getting on stage, or is that the exciting bit?
Yeah, it is. It is exciting, sort of that excitement mixed with petrification and a rather upset stomach. But well, the shows that I worked in before, it's always the same. You don't have any time. You just, because it is live, you don't have a chance actually to be too worried about it. Once you're on, it's all the stuff beforehand. And I think with this show, Scrooge is on for a very good part of the show, obviously. So hopefully I won't have that time to think about it. You just get, the show will drag you along.
Obviously, people know you lately from The Royal and programmes like that on the TV. Is it nice to come and go from your different genres and do a bit of comedy here and a bit of theatre there and then a bit of TV? It's
perfect if you're that lucky, and I've been, very lucky. So to go off and do some work in Australia and then to come back here, and having done a bit of telly before, it's great. Different, as I said, different challenges. It really, hopefully, keeps it all alive.
I don't wish to be too condescending of the current generation, because they've got their own thing going, but it seems like there's somewhat of a drought of people like you coming through today who can do it all, who can try and sing, try and dance, can act, can be funny. There aren't many all-rounders left, are there?
I think you don't know yet, because if you have young talent coming through, they're not necessarily have tried everything, so they're just establishing what they're going to be famous for in the first place, and then perhaps afterwards will branch out and do a lot of other things. But if you certainly look at the Little Britain guys, I mean, they've gone off, lots of acting experience in there. They're obviously very good at straight drama and some very sort of heavy duty stuff as well.
Do you think we'll ever see Hale and Pace back on TV at some point?
I think it's never say never, really. I don't know. But we had some great fun writing earlier on in the spring, and it was great to get out in front of audiences again. So you never know. I
suppose the sad thing about what you do is, to TV producers, it's a lot more expensive than a cookery programme, and that would probably stop you getting the gig more than the fact that you're good at it.
Well, yeah, I think, obviously the nature of telly has changed, and money drives everything, perhaps even more so than before. So, but things are cyclical, so You never know.
Congratulations on your career and for so many laughs. That Yorkshire Airlines thing, if you've not seen it, go on YouTube and search it. I know it's got loads and loads of hits. It must be nice to have something that is seen around the world and just universally loved.
It's, a very, very warm feeling. It's great.
Gareth Hale is going to be the new star as Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. It's on at the Arts Theatre. And doing business right through until January, aren't you?
Yes, we open on the 11th of November, going right the way through till January the 10th.
Congratulations and thanks for talking to us.
Thank you very much.